Welcome to the Champion Blueprint Podcast, where mindset meets mission.
We're diving into what it really takes to lead, win, and live with purpose.
From NFL locker rooms to boardrooms, it's all about discipline, core values, and the habits that build champions.
Whether you're leveling up in business, life, or leadership, this is your playbook.
Champion your mindset.
Champion your purpose.
Let's go.
We are back. Better than ever.
Yes.
Gary Brackett, George Rogers. Welcome again to Champion Blueprint, the podcast. Well, we are here to inspire. We're here to educate, connect you. Of all things, champion your mindset, as long as you also champion your purpose. Gary, we're coming in deep, man. We're almost wrapping up the end of the year. We've had the holidays and Labor Days, and we had the Halloweens, and we're knocking at the door of the feast,
yes,
if you will. One of my favorite holidays. Got to get some food at the table, but we were chatting and something came to mind, and we don't really plan these podcasts on holidays or anything like that. But a couple of weeks ago, Halloween happened, and we were just talking about just in general some of the masks that we as people wear growing up. And we always talk about one of our vulnerabilities as a recovering people pleaser. We grew up trying to please people. And so today we're going to be talking about the 4 masks we wear and really try to discover why, because there's a why and a purpose behind everything. I'm just a strong believer, Gary, that nothing just happens. No. There's a purpose for why I'm wearing a mask or why I do what I do.
Or there's a trigger for it, right?
Yeah.
There's something that happened to you in your past that made you want to act a certain way or be looked at a certain way. And those are things that we should definitely recognize within ourselves. And because at the end of the day, we want to get as close to our authentic self as possible, right?
Yep. So we want to today on this podcast, we're really going to dig deep into the mask we wear, and we're going to talk about 4 masks that we see people wear. We have experienced wearing them ourselves in our everyday life, and how it affects just us authentically. And so when we talk about why we wear masks, one of the things that really pop up to me is, like, for me, there's this false sense, and sometimes it's a real sense of protection, right? That I'm shielding myself and I'm shielding my family from vulnerabilities or potential harm that could be there. That's one of the reasons why I personally have worn a mask in my life, where it's like, all right, I got to protect myself from here. And sometimes I got to be somebody that I'm not. Now, I can flip the script, and be this. If I need to be a stern, I don't want to say angry, but very motivated to defend the family, I can put that mask on real quick, and you'll find out who I am and where I come from, right?
Yeah.
And then there's other times where it's what we talked about, the people pleasing, where we're just trying to fit in, and that mask. And so you got those that are adopting to this mindset, and we see it in our kids. They're one way at home. You go to school, you're a different way. You go to a game, and they get around different groups, and it becomes something different. Then you have those performers.
Yeah.
And then you also have those that fear that rejection. And so those are kind of the 4 masks that people wear: the protection, the fitting in, the performance, and that fear of rejection.
It's crazy because I look at performance 2 ways. One, it's fear of failure. Yep. And obviously people want to avoid that at all costs. But then I also look at it, what I see a lot is the fear of success. It's like sometimes people have in football have a great play, a great game, and then they start getting anxiety that they're now going to have to show up as this great player, right? And what does that mean? And now you're a leader. And all those things start going into your head. So I think a lot of those things all come up, and I think we should definitely discuss it and see how we can approach it and how we can address it. And like I said, get back to that alignment of who you're meant to be.
Yeah, that's an interesting take, because once you get to a certain position or you have a performance of a lifetime, and you talk about it from a football perspective, even in a game, sometimes it's the way the calls are played, or sometimes it's the script, right? Like your strengths match up against this offense, and so this is your game. You talk about it many times in some of our early episodes about how you would go a game with just 1, 2, maybe 3 tackles, but your other guys were just they were dogs. But that's just how it went. That's how some of the audibles in life went. But when people see, hey, Gary, you have this potential, George, you have this potential, or you at the workplace and you do something extremely well, you do a project, and it just so happens. Sometimes you just got to be in a mood. Like, it's a mindset too. It's not that you ain't capable of keeping that standard, but it's like, oh, you can do it.
Right.
Now I need it every day. I need it every day. Like, You can't be anything lower. Then we talk about well-being, mental health.
Yep.
Right. And that expectation. So that's an interesting take. Not necessarily just performance of putting on a show, but like the standard of expectation of success that you always have to breed that level. And it's not always like that in life. Because I tell everybody has this false narrative of entrepreneurs or even business leaders, football players, right? Going out in public at a restaurant and like just want to be normal. Gary Brackett, who like your kids don't care about what you did or what you used to do or who you may be. But there's this presence that people expect you to be something at all times. They expect Gary the football player, not Gary the dad or Gary the spouse or
so
significant other.
sometimes the mask, like I know I'm putting it on.
Yeah.
Right? Like you said, in those scenarios, especially like as speakers being on stage, you know people are going to talk to you, take pictures.
Yep.
You know, you're assuming that, right?
Yep.
If you're in your company, if you got a leadership meeting and you're presenting the meeting, there's something that comes along with that. There's a cost associated with that.
Right.
And I'm willing to pay the cost with some of these masks that I put on.
Yep.
But I also know situational. And when I want to now take that mask off, and I do just want to, chill out and just have peace and just, kind of be left alone.
Yeah. So you have masks that are, you can call them short-term masks.
Yeah.
That awfully become sometimes positive. Then there's always, where there's a positive, there's going to be a negative, right? So some of these things can be dangerous and damaging long-term, especially for leaders. The mask in real life, when we talk about, you share some of these things that, behind the scenes about NFL locker rooms and admitting or not admitting whether you're hurt at times, and sometimes the fear of losing a spot, especially as you after that first and second contract. It's about stability. Like, what I got to do to make sure they know that I still have the energy, I got the juice still to be able to execute. And so you put on that false mask. Like we see that in business, people don't want to train their people because they're afraid of being replaced.
Yeah, we had a saying in football, don't drop the glove.
Yeah.
And it came from Wally Pipp, who was before Cal Ripken, was the all-time most consecutive games played.
Okay.
And the story went, there was a guy, and I even forget his name, but he was a veteran guy. He went out drinking. The coach was like, "Hey, you're going in. You're playing on this position today."
Yeah.
And he's like, "Nah, I'm a little hungover. Put the rookie in." And the rookie was Wally Pipp. He never got out.
Wow.
Right. So it's just that one of those things of like, not dropping your glove. And that was always told to us in the locker room. So we play injured. We play, doing these things. But at the same time, there's also a fine line between, being afraid, having that scarcity mindset, and then also having that abundance mindset.
Yeah. So you have that in the football field, in the locker room, and then in the boardroom, in the workplace, you have people that are showing up.
Yeah.
And we always talk about the importance of not trying to, you can't fill and fill somebody else's cup from an empty well.
Yep.
And so having something stored up for yourself and taking care of yourself, there's this balance. And we talk about the work-life balance. I call it the work-life rhythm, where you got to just take care of yourself. But there's also this personal mindset that you want to be that person. You want to be somebody that people can count on, that's going to show up. That's going to be dependable and consistent. And so you put on these real life masks where you're not feeling well. You may not be in your right mind. You got personal stuff on, family, life happens. Losing somebody in your family that takes that emotional toll on you, but you're still trying to show up for your team. You're a leader in your workplace and in your business, and you're doing those things. And it's that old adage, I'm fine.
Yeah.
What's going on, Gary? I'm good.
Yeah.
Because you don't want anybody to see a weakness because they expect in something, and there's that leadership value. And I want to encourage people to have some vulnerability. There has to be that case where there's some accountability, where you can go to your counterpart and say, "Hey, listen, I ain't telling the coach this.
Right.
I ain't telling the boss this, but this is what's going on.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna lean on you in these areas."
So one thing I learned, this is like the pandemic, going through things in my personal life and my private life, also my business life. I was always reminded my mom was an ordained pastor, right?
Yep.
And one example, I was telling her I was going to be a captain, and she was excited for me. And I was nervous because I was like, man, what's that going to mean? What mask do I have to put on to be a captain at Rutgers, right? I was a walk-on initially. And then she was like, hey, baby, I'm going to take a page out of my book, and that's the greatest among us will serve. So she was just telling me just to serve. And, again, the people pleaser just wanted to serve all this time. But then I realized, during COVID, when I went through things financially and when I went through things in my marriage, it's just like, hey, my mantra and my first value now is self-fulfillment first and then serve. So you got to figure out ways to have that self-fulfillment.
Yeah.
And do you even know what that means?
Yeah.
Do you know how to get yourself centered, right? Do you know where you need to go, to bring peace to your heart? And I think those are very important. Like you said, when you're living this lifestyle, when you have these expectations of, all right, where am I going to go take care of me?
Yeah.
How do I get that done?
Yeah. My greatest fear that I found where I realized, Gary, was a reality check for myself, is that I was at a place where I was consistently being burned out. Like I just didn't have the energy to be what everybody else, that recovering people pleaser, were like, Gary needs this from me. Well, when I go over here, this is what, and it was like, how do you keep that energy? And my greatest fear was two things. One, I was getting consistently burnt out.
Yeah.
And then two, I had no clue who the hell I was. Like I didn't have any identity. There was an identity crisis because in this area, especially in high school, I wanted to fit in with the crowd. I stopped playing sports my freshman year. Once we transitioned to high school, had some injuries and surgeries over that summer, where it was like, I don't care about sports. I care about just living, right? I got 27 staples on my neck. And so it was like fitting in. And like, I went through this identity burnout phase. And it was at the moment, and I remember the reality check of, I got to stop being a human that does and just being a human being.
Yeah.
Like I got to take care of my own self. And that's where the step of leadership and self-leadership began for me. And not saying that I figured out who the heck I was.
Yeah.
Because it was still like, it was just habits. Like, what mask am I wearing today? And so I had to take initiative and be very cognitive of what I was doing.
Yeah.
Right. And so shifting from being a human doing to a human being. Let's dive, Gary, into these four masks that we talked about. And the first one is the performer.
Right.
The performer, wears his mask. It's the need of really that external validation. It's that need and desire of worth being tied into work, or there's contracts. You got to complete so many sales. It's that results driven mentality that a lot of companies may have. And you get tied into that performance. And you talked about it from a different, standpoint of like, you hit success. Now it's like, how do I stay at this successful moment in any area of my life, right? Chasing the KPIs.
Yeah.
And being hungry and, being celebrated in a sense, because sometimes it feels good. I ain't gonna lie. I love, one of the things that I miss when I'm not traveling or on the stage, it's not that I rave for the recognition. I love the one person that comes up to me and say, George, you inspire me, and this is why.
You know what's crazy to me? I always feel like, because when we're speaking, we can see audience reaction, right?
Yep.
And we can see if you're laughing, if you're smiling, if you're paying attention, if you're asleep. And I always feel like that comment always comes from that one person that I didn't think was paying attention.
Yeah. They're over here like,
no, I mean, just
yawning, fingers crossed.
The facial expression is just mum. I'm just like, all right, this dude ain't rocking with me, but I'm speaking my heart out. Yeah. But at the end, it's just like, man, I had some great takeaways from that.
Oh, so you're talking about the no body language person.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
And they just
don't want to give you any proof that you're doing what you're doing.
And like you said, it feels great, right? Because my purpose in life is to finish my race, but then help others finish theirs as well, and recognize, what they're running for. So, like you said, that it feels good in that sense of a performer. But I know, like when I'm home, I can't chase that with my kids. When I'm doing other type of things, I have to just be okay with cooking dinner and my little daughter telling me it was mid.
It was all right. We could have went to a restaurant now that had better season.
You know what I'm saying? So just like, I just got to be careful, you know what I'm saying, where I place, the value of that and how that's going to affect me.
Yeah, that's funny. Your performance at the stove, Dad, was me.
The black top, the hibachi was like,
something's missing. It ain't like what we had at the restaurant.
Exactly.
It's almost like that standard, Gary, like the performance standard. Like that you set. Sometimes my fear is this: how do you deal with? It's one thing to wear a mask to meet your expectations, right? I wear this mask because I want to be something or be perceived as somebody. It's another thing when somebody else puts a mask on you, or you wearing a mask because of somebody else's expectations, right? You got the chef hat on now. I'm about to, you open the door about your cooking skills.
Yeah.
Your daughter's got the chef hat on. You done took her to a nice hibachi spot.
Right.
Now you're trying to do it at home.
Yeah.
And it's just me. Now there's an expectation of what can I do to do better?
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about the expectation that we have when it comes to performing, when somebody has that standard on you, and how you either, hey, cut this. Like, I understand what you want or what you desire, but this is who I am. This is what you can expect.
Right.
Versus trying to live through and say, all right, this is what they're expecting from me, because it can get draining living up to somebody else's expectations because you don't know what really pleases them.
So one is depending on that person with those expectations. Is it coming from a good place where they're coaching you to want you to perform and to be at your best, right? Or is coming from a place of these person want me to perform and act in a way that's not consistent with who I am.
Yeah.
Right? Because what I've realized in life is that if a king takes off his crown and go to a circus, right, the circus doesn't look like a palace. The king looks like a fool.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
That's good.
So it's just like always being mindful of, the role that other people want me playing. And is that consistent on who I am? Because sometimes I just got to, like we talked about before, respectfully say no.
Yeah.
Like, that's not who I am. I'm not about to be out here yelling and screaming with you. Like, you know what I'm saying? Or acting in this type of way. Like, so just being consistent, being mindful of, that performance and being a pleaser and what you're doing and when.
Good transition. Mask number 2, the pleaser.
Yeah.
This is very near to our heart. We talk about the root cause, right? Mm-hmm. The root cause of the pleaser is that fear of rejection. Mm-hmm. It's that need for approval from others.
Yeah.
And then you talk about some of those behaviors. When I think about some of the behaviors for myself, like for me, I realized I committed. I couldn't say no. You talked about a couple of weeks ago that the power of no and how we need to really use that word. You almost get overcommitted because there's so many people around that you want to please. Talk a little bit about some of those things as we talk about the recovering people pleasing in ourselves. What was some of those root causes for you? What were some of the behaviors you saw in yourself?
Yeah, man. Just in my role of, head of the household and, the whole myth of masculinity that we had, that our sole purpose is to take care of others.
Yeah.
And, and my mom, the whole thing is the greatest among us will serve. So just all I wanted to do was
mindset.
serve. You know what I'm saying? And I didn't want to let people down.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I put a lot of value and stake in being reliable and being that go-to person. But when you realize you go-to person and you don't have anyone to go to, right, you start having to make different decisions. And then I started to realize that every yes I would say to someone else was a no to myself.
Yeah.
So I kind of had to reevaluate and take an assessment of my yeses and nos and where I was sharing my energy at, and just had to reel it in and do more things that kind of filled my cup. Yeah.
And so you see this not just in life, you also see this at work, right? You're taking on more projects, or you lose a team member, somebody gets cut from the team, fired, however you want to say it. And then somebody needs to step up. You don't want nobody to step up because then they might get promoted. You got personal and career goals, but sometimes we take on too much.
Yeah.
And that leads to all the things that we've already talked about. Talk about the burnout. We're talking about being drained mentally and emotionally, physically, right? And then sometimes financially, because now we're going and doing things to try to satisfy other needs to please ourselves. And it just doesn't work out. One of those things, and you said it, a yes to somebody else is a no to yourself. I always used to say, too much of one thing is a little of another, right? Too much over here is a little over there. And if I'm doing too much here, trying to please somebody else, what am I not giving enough time to, right? If I'm working, taking on extra projects, how does this affect my family and my kids, right? My spouse, what does that routine look like? And so there's so much power in that. And I love the saying no to one thing is saying yes to one thing is saying no to another is a key as well. The third thing that the third P that I like so much, and this one is kind of different. It's something that I love to be. Had a little sister who passed away in 2016, but like I was the protector.
Yeah.
You talked about the family like being the head of the house and the man in the house. The protector is a different type of mask. Talk a little bit about that perception for you when it comes to protecting.
Yeah, so protecting, I think when you experience life and you go through things, you have certain things that you have seen occur.
Yeah.
So you want to sometimes prevent people from experiencing that same sort of pain.
Yeah.
But I think in reality, we hurt people by not letting them experience that pain. Like the pain and the failures and the struggles help shape us to who we are.
Wow. That's good.
So being a protector for me and my kids, I have to sit back sometimes. It's like, you know what? I don't think that's going to work. That's going to fail, but this is what you want to decide.
Yeah.
Let's rock it out. And then I could be there and coach you through why it
Yeah.
didn't work. But you need to feel that. It's like sometimes I can't just tell you the stove isn't hot. I need you to get burnt.
Yeah.
Because you're never going to listen to me if I'm always protecting you. So I've learned myself now to be more quiet. And I tell my kids now, treat me more as a resource than an authority. And I want to help, shape this life of yours, and I want to help contribute, but this is your life.
Yeah.
And I got to help you go through this stuff because you can't be 25, just experience your first heartbreak or your first failure. Like I got to have you live through those moments.
Yeah. That's a key for me. Look, parental counseling with Gary Brackett 101 today. Man. Because as a father figure, and a lot of it for me was, not ever meeting my dad, right? And so we have different situations, losing a family, and then not ever, having that father figure. Now being adopted and brought in by somebody else is different. But I never had that guy. Like it's no matter if you're adopted or whatever it may be, you're always wondering, am I good enough, right? Or what was it? What was the issue? Or why haven't they come around? And there's those different types of thoughts. And then you become a father, and it's like, how do I protect them from the hurt that I had, right? Yeah. It's just a mentality. How do I give them everything that I didn't, have and receive? And in doing so, protecting them from your past and hurts, you're saying sometimes doesn't help them at all, like experience. Like I was always in mindset, I don't want the kid to ever cry over XYZ, right? I don't want him to cry because somebody didn't show up at his game and he was dependent on that person to show up. He got me. That's all that matters, right? But you're saying let them experience that because it develops and that's the key. Sometimes, especially early on in life, developing that emotion, developing the feel of a loss. Yeah. Right. Now, what do we learn from that? How do we turn this around? How do we maximize this opposition that we face into an opportunity that we can create for ourselves and others? And so teaching those things. And so this is a good one. Like this protector is a different way of looking at it. And you threw me for a loop because now I'm thinking like I'm going on the emotional state of mind of how often do we hold people back, not just in life, but at work, because we're trying to protect them from experiencing a failure.
And how it works as leaders, they would say, hey, don't worry about it. I'll do it.
Yeah.
Right. And then I'll do it. I'll do it. And they keep on pounding on their own plate because they want to protect you. But they don't think you're good enough to do it. Or you're not going to do it to their satisfaction.
And sometimes it's not your satisfaction. Sometimes it's their manager, right? It's somebody above them that they know, hey, you're not on the right scale, so I need to protect you and make sure this is good for you. So that's the team.
That's why training and feedback has to be a thing, and that's how letting that person do it, them getting some constructive criticism, and say, okay, now let's do this together. So make sure that next time you turn this in, it's to what we expect.
Yeah, exposing them to the expectations and standards while they're going through that journey is a key because there's nothing greater than real life examples. Oh, no, right. There's nothing greater than watching film after a game and being able to say, hey, this is what we did good, but this is what we could have done better. This could have held back. This could have presented another opportunity. And so these are keys. I love the protector mindset. I want to dig into this again. We might have to come back absolutely. and talk about this because there's a lot of strength in that protector and where it can go. The last one, number 4, is the perfectionist mask, right? One of the things that I found out about perfectionists and that transition, right? Because we talk about the protector, right? Talked about now the perfectionist. In between there's this strength and vulnerability, right? As a protector and somebody who wants to necessarily pursue excellence, right? I used to have this perfectionist mindset, and once I realized there's no thing as perfection, I can pursue excellence. I can get there, right? But nobody's going to be perfect because somebody's going to always, we talk about speaking on the stage, man, I feel like I'm killing it.
Yeah.
And then somebody has this flaw, you get the feedback, you're like, he does this too much.
Yeah.
And it's like, dang, I'm literally that person away from being a 4.9 or a 5.0. And here I am at a 4.7 on my last review because that person didn't like that I was too interactive and not focused on the actual strategic outlines. Because I'm always just kind of, I want to give you some rabbit food so you can squirrel. Here's a couple of
and I think it's funny because we're both like, you speak and you're passionate and you get led from the audience and where they're coming with
exactly.
So some stuff is not necessarily rehearsed. And it's the first time I'm saying it. So for me, I got a speech impediment, right? And I want to be perfect, but like sometimes it's like I mess up a word.
Yeah.
And before it would just kill me and I would just go back and wrestle with the world. And everyone's, sitting up listening like, no, I'm going to mess something up, but I'm going to keep going. Right. Because like I learned, like I can't be perfect. Like I'm passionate. People kind of knew where my heart was.
Yeah. So their strength and vulnerability, their strength is found in honesty.
Yeah.
And that honesty is not necessarily always somebody like there's nothing greater than having accountability and Gary calling me out on something, right? There's that honesty there. But then the moment you're able to be honest with yourself,
right?
Because oftentimes we tell ourselves a lie so long that we start believing a lie. And once you believe a lie, you start living a lie. And so it's important that you find that strength as you're transitioning from the perfectionist, from the protector to the perfectionist. When we drop that protector mask, we create space for authenticity. We create that space for trust. We create that space for growth and development in our life. And then we go to this perfectionist and what we can get out of that, right? We wear this perfectionist mask because for me, again, I don't want to be looked at as a failure.
Yeah.
I don't want anybody to know that I've done below the standard, right? And then sometimes I just hated criticism. Good or bad, like there's positive criticism out there. Like, George, you did a great job. Here's a little tweak. I just didn't like I didn't like negativity, and a lot of it because of my own insecurities, right? That I had, and so I had this false thought that I was great. Like there was nobody better. Like I had in my mindset, I'm gonna be the best. In order to be the best, you got to tell yourself you're the best.
Yeah.
And there ain't no room for any negativity in that. And I had this avoiding judgment, or in this case in the workplace, avoiding feedback, right? Yeah. I wanted to avoid that at all costs. I shut down. I shut down because I wanted to be Mr. Right.
Yeah. The challenge that I see, and when people avoid feedback, then others stop giving it.
Yep. And what happens when others start giving it? Especially if you're a leader on a team.
Yet then you get stagnant and then you can't grow because you have blind spots.
Yep.
We all have blind spots.
Yep.
We can't see the picture when we're inside the frame.
Right.
So we need others to kind of check in with us and let us know what things that we're not seeing. And we have to be open to that feedback, right? Because we're not perfect human beings.
Yep.
Although we strive to be perfect, we're not perfect.
Yep.
And I think allowing ourselves to be vulnerable, you said there's strength and vulnerability. It just allows more people. If I could coach and correct you and you can make that feedback, I'm going to be more willing to help you out and help you be the best you could be, because I see that you're working towards it.
Yeah.
And you have the mindset that, man, I'm going to grow. I'm going to continue to work on this thing. When your mindset is already made up and everything else, I'm just like, nah, if you like it, I love it.
Yeah.
And for everyone else out there, do you like it? I love it means I indeed do not like it, but I'm happy with the fact that you love it.
Yeah. Yeah. And so you got to be able to have that, it goes in ways. The perfectionists, and people will tell you this, especially when I'm writing a blog, I'll sit on a blog for a month, or i.e. I'll sit on my book until I feel like it's ready. Yeah. Because I always feel like, I can add more. What if I'm missing? If I wait a little bit longer, maybe there's a case study that's coming out that'll align. And it's like, I want the perfect book, which is totally different than my first book, where I wanted it to be totally just whatever it was. No correction. But some of the things that hold people back when it comes to that perfectionist standpoint is really the danger spot of really like this paralysis. Like you paralyze yourself and your potential. You paralyze your team. Nobody wants to come to you because it's got to be the right way, the perfect way. Right. And so you hold back on a lot of opportunities. And in a sense, some leaders mute their employees and mute their team members without even knowing, not necessarily saying, hey, shut up, but by not being able to take in advice and those potentials. One story I just heard about, Gary, and it really kills the perfectionist mindset. A new CEO came into NASA and realized that one of the greatest fears of a lot of teams is that, and it was killing vision, is killing the innovation of what they were trying to do and where they needed to grow into, was that nobody was willing to make a mistake. Like there was this fear of if it's not right, if it's not perfect. And finally, after having several meetings, and if you were able to experience this, one of the crazy stories he told, that the CEO told, is now whenever there's a failure, it doesn't matter what the failure is, rocket blow, whatever it is, something tragic happens, you will hear it.
Wow.
Everybody celebrates the failure.
Yeah.
And so like once you get this mask off your face, and this is something I strive for, like I want to celebrate failure because we took a risk. But more than just taking a risk, what we have from failure is that we are learning something that did not work, that now what can we do to make this better? And so that's the key for me. Like how do you take an opportunity that did not come through and make it something that it's not?
Right.
Perfection is not the key.
Nah, not at all. I think it's just summarizing everything with the mask. I could just remember, and it still seems unreal, but 2020, where we had to physically wear masks.
Yeah.
And I could,
isn't that crazy?
I can remember, like, you know, I get recognized going places, but it felt almost good sometimes that I will go places and because of masks, no one will recognize me. Until other places I went, I wanted to be recognized, right? Because I wanted them to acknowledge who I was.
Yeah.
So, and it was at a restaurant. I'm like, hey, if I take this mask off, right, I don't have reservations, but if they see who I am and know I'm a patron, I could get my seat. I don't have to wait in this line.
Exactly.
But I think it's the same thing that happens. Like when we wear our mask and we never take it down, you know, to show people our true selves, right? We can't get rewarded or acknowledged for the person that we are.
Yeah. So the key here today, as we wrap up, recognizing your mask, recognizing the mask we wear within ourselves, and maybe it's something different. Maybe we didn't hit one of the four that's in there, but you know, find out what triggers. What situations triggers you to put on those masks is the key. And how do you change your life? How do you change your mindset when you remove that mask? Like, what is it that you need to do? One of the things that I loved, Gary, is just taking time. And sometimes it's a mental journal, but also just typing or writing. However, if you're old school, you still like to write, do one of those things. If you're a typer, you got an app or not, but just keep a journal of those moments in your life where you feel like, hey, I got to catch myself because this is a trigger. This is something that I'm getting myself into that I don't want to do. I want to get in this habit, want to do that. So my challenge for everybody, number one, spend one day intentionally leaving that mask off.
Yeah.
Identify it, commit, set up some accountability, set up a practice authenticity without the mask. Share, tell somebody, hey, listen, whether it's a friend, trusted friend, or a colleague at your work, hold me accountable. And then I want you to reflect. A lot of times we'll have this accountability. We'll try to, conquer a goal, but we don't have the reflection, and reflect on those things is the key for that. So again, the performer, you got the pleaser, the perfectionist, and the protector. At the end, authenticity wins. Costumes are fun for one night,
right,
a year, but authenticity is what wins every day. And so we want to encourage you today. Thank you so much for joining us again here on Champion Blueprint, the podcast. George Rogers, Gary Brackett, as always, champion your mindset so you can champion your purpose.